What's good, too? Flash Speaks, man. Early morning, chilling. Got to go to work. Y'all know how it is. Got WNBA coming up tonight. Got the Connecticut Sun, Minnesota Lynx. Minnesota's at home, so I guess you got to get them the edge. But the Sun, they got heart. They play defense, so they always got a chance, man. Lynx have the best player out there, and that's Collier, who can go off. But the Sun, on the other hand, have a legendary player, a legacy player, man, with a lot of heart. And that's that DeWanna Bonner. You just never know if Bonner got that in her, man. Just one game where she goes off, then we can see what happens. I don't know. Eagles got a game coming up this week against the Browns. And right now in Philadelphia, man, with a lot of the Eagle fans, and especially the content creators I've been listening to pretty much all week and listen. I respect all content creators. I respect all their opinions, whether I think their opinions are wild, whether I think their opinions are accurate, whether I think their opinions are just decent or whatever. But what seems to be the prevailing sentiment right now is the fan base is pretty much down. They're dissatisfied with the 2-2 record. They're dissatisfied with the way the team is looking. Really, really dissatisfied with Jalen Hurts, coaching staff, the defense, all of that. And many are saying stuff like, if the Eagles lose this game to the Browns, somebody's got to be fired. We got to fire Nick Sirianni and I guess put in Kellen Moore or make all these wholesale changes. And, all I can do is just do like this. And I mean, look, I just disagree with that. Now, I expect to win, and I'm not going to tell you I wouldn't be one of the most pissed off individuals if they didn't win. But, really the situation is, it isn't that. Now, anyone already knows, I'm already on record saying I don't really like Nick Sirianni as the head coach, right? Nothing personal. It's just that I just don't think he's very good, at the job. Game day coaching, as far as game planning, you can't rely on him to do that, to call a game that's going to make any sense. We already see that there's some issues with him and the quarterback, whether or not the quarterback respects him, not as a man, but respects him as a football person. We've already heard all the off-season stuff. What happened between Brian Johnson, Hurts, and him, and we know this is why they brought in Kellen Moore. So I get that. But what y'all got to understand, Philadelphia Eagle fans, is that at 2-2, even if the Eagles were to lose to the Browns, to be 2-3, you still have what you consider a manageable situation. You have a situation where you can identify the problem. If you're Howie Roseman, if you're Jeffrey Lurie, if you're Nick Sirianni, you can identify the problem and fix the problem. It's still manageable. And so long as it's manageable, you don't just make those types of moves where you just firing whole head coaches and all of that. So you just don't do that in this situation. It just doesn't call for it. And I disagree. I get it from an emotional standpoint. But you can't act off emotion in that way. Now, I get it. Right after the game, or right after the Tampa Bay game, I get it. I was just as angry as everybody else. But then after you give it some time, give it some hours, give it some days, and then now, after you've given it a week, There's no way in the world you could see that game as being anything other than the Eagles going into a game after a big win against the Saints in New Orleans, a place we haven't won in years, where you going in without A.J. Brown, you going in without Devontae Smith, and you kind of like you going out without Lane Johnson, and it's almost like they just went in there half-hearted. Now, I get it. You don't like that. I don't like that either. But what I'm not going to do is not act as if I haven't seen that before on the part of a good team. You know, we go back to 2004, one of the best Eagles teams we've seen in recent years. And Eagles start off either 6-0 or 7-0. They would go into Pittsburgh and get our doors blown off. Worse than this Tampa Bay game was. That was with McNabb, with T.O., with the whole nine. And, I mean, the Eagles still went to the Super Bowl. In 2017, the Philadelphia Eagles are 13-1. Maybe at this time they were 11-1, 11-2. Going to Seattle and get the doors blown off by Seattle. And that Eagles team still made it to the Super Bowl. You see what I mean? It's like, and those were teams that weren't dealing with injuries. You know what I mean? Significant injuries like that. So I try to look at things from a historical perspective, and I try to kind of judge stuff based on what I've seen before. And that way I determine when is it time to panic, when is it there's not a time to panic. You know, right now, man, I don't think it's time to jump off the deep end right now. I just don't. I don't see it. If it's a situation where Nick Sirianni is getting involved too much, then Howie or whatever got to step in and be like, look, bro, you got to step back. Or, you know, this is the time when you start issuing maybe those types of warnings or those types of indications. But straight firing, you just can't operate like that. Number two, when it comes to Jalen Hurts, as I said before, you're talking about a quarterback that is implementing a completely new system. West Coast offense. He's never ran the West Coast offense before, what Kellen Moore is doing. So what they're trying to do is you're giving him stuff that he's really comfortable with. Right now, as far as the West Coast offense, they still don't know what he's comfortable with or what he's not comfortable with. Now, you can go based off of the first couple of weeks. Obviously, the slant pattern, you know, he's comfortable with. Some of the stuff to the tight ends he's comfortable with. You know, the curl routes he's comfortable with. The wheel route to the running back out the backfield, Hurts is comfortable with. So you're running that, and then you mix that with some of the RPO stuff that he's been doing. That is the right way to do it. Like, you look down in Washington, everybody going crazy about Jaden Daniels, and he is playing well, but part of the reason is they're running his college stuff he already knows. He's not being force-fed to learn a completely new pro offense. He will have to eventually, but right now, when you bring those guys into the NFL, you want to let them be as comfortable as possible. So Washington is doing a great job with that. Similarly, with Hurts here, keep some of the RPO stuff, even though we hate a lot of it. We want to see more on the center. We want to see more, 7-step drop, 5-step drops, and reading and going through the progressions. And we want to see Saquon Barkley like in the backfield from while Hurts is under center. We want to see more of that, right? But those things take time. Man. Like I said, we've seen this before. When Randall Cunningham first was put under Ray Rhodes and John Gruden, he was first put into the West Coast offense. And it didn't look too good at first. And then we end up getting rid of Randall Cunningham. And I don't want to see those same mistakes. And I think people personally are I think people are exaggerating how bad Jalen Hurts is playing. And I know what's happening with some of the content creators. Some of you content creators, this is what's happening. you feel obligated to jump on Jalen Hurts. Why? Because you were those same people that were jumping on Dak Prescott 2 years ago when Dak Prescott had thrown, 16 interceptions, something like that. Historically, 16 interceptions really isn't that crazy. There's been quarterbacks that have thrown 22, that have thrown 30, that have thrown 25, right? 16 interceptions really ain't that crazy. Now, you can say, okay, this day and age, we don't throw them and all of that. That's what you want to think. Okay, cool. Me, I'm more concerned with wins and losses than I am with whether or not you threw an interception right here or there, right? I mean, you don't want to have the reputation of being a guy that can't stop throwing them, and you don't want to throw them at key times like in the red zone. You don't want to throw them like in your red, in the other team's red zone, like where it's an easy pick six. Like, you don't want to do those types of things, without a doubt. You don't want to do them at the end of games. I get it. But, like, the quarterback trying out a new offense, trying certain throws to wide receivers that he trusts in, putting up 50-50 balls and all that kind of stuff. I mean, what do you want him to do, man? Be a check down Charlie, never take these chances? Or do you want him to take these chances with the chance of there being an interception? Like I want the quarterback to be cognizant of interceptions, but I don't want him to be afraid to throw them, because then you'll get the other type of quarterback, that's holding the ball too long and getting sacks, right? So, y'all, this is what I'm saying. Y'all want this 5-step drop, ball release stuff, right? Ball out without all this extra thinking, and then you want them to do no interceptions at all while just now running somebody's plays for the first time. Like, all right, I'm gonna just put it like this. I'm the way I'm looking at the Eagles this year is, especially offensively, I don't know about defense. Offensively, a work in progress. It's going to be clunky first 4 games. It may be clunky a little bit longer than that. But the key is, by the end of the year and going into those playoffs, you want to be on a roll, playing your best football there. That's when you want to be peaking. What we want to see change, though, are some of the things that the coach affects. Like taking the points, taking the 3 points, kicking the field goal at times, where you don't have to be aggressive, especially early in games. Running the ball more. These are the things that I think needs to be changed. Now, I did put it out there, and shout out to my brother, welcome to HD2 TV, that we do have a problem with ownership, and ownership wants this particular philosophy of passing the ball. That's true. However, what I didn't add was the reason why we don't feel like we don't completely write the team off because of the philosophy is because Jeffrey Lurie does want to win, and Jeffrey Lurie does fear the fan base. Okay? Thing about our fan base is if the Eagles get too pass happy, never running the ball, they'll have a home game where all 50,000 people, how many people is there in the stadium, will stand up and literally yell, "Run the effing ball! Run the effing ball! Run the effing ball!" When Jeffrey Lurie comes to Novacare Complex, he'll see people outside the Novacare Complex holding up signs, "Run the damn ball." He'll see it on all of the content creators' websites. He'll see it all over the place. And that is the one thing Jeffrey Lurie does fear, is the fan base. So the fan base is kind of like the checks and balances when it comes to Jeffrey Lurie and the philosophy that he wants. Number 2, we did pick up Saquon Barkley, so that is an indication that the running game is at least a priority, and he has to know how good of a running game we had in 2017 when we won the Super Bowl, and he has to know how good of a running game we had in 2022 when we got to the Super Bowl, so I believe Jeffrey Lurie, like, at the end of the day, he's not going to be the sole reason the Eagles never get, to the Super Bowl. He's gotten there twice, 3 times actually, and we actually survived Andy Reid 14 years, never won to run the ball. So, it would be all right. So anyway, we got the Browns coming up, man. I'm going to give a definite better breakdown, or more thorough breakdown than that when the time comes. And that's definitely a game I don't expect to lose. And I'm not worried about whether or not we just beat them down and all of that. And that's not what's important, man. That's not what's important. Not right now. You talking about you got 4 games in, and then in those games you were missing the receivers and linemen and all of that. Look, just be happy to be healthy coming into this game. Get the win, stack the wins. The division, focus on winning the division. Take it one game at a time. We'll see what happens, man.